Hello, and welcome to the third episode of this panel discussion. In this episode, we will talk about the technology transformation that is required for that sustainability transformation. So, Terry, coming to you, when coffee, that's one of those earlier commodities where sustainability started, right? That's one of the places where it all really started to the supply chain, and I think it's the first commodity to become so transparent in terms of how sustainability is run across the value chain as well. I really would like to kind of hear from you in terms of how the technology interventions in the supply chain is helping you to kind of move more effective, efficient, and transparent.
Sure. And thank you. You're exactly right, Santosh. It was the coffee industry that really brought sustainability to the forefront. Our customers, our consumers really demand, and they look for exactly how we are good for the various pillars that Sudarshan talked about, and how we're beneficial to all the way across our supply chain, all the way from the farm right to delivery to the consumer, and making sure that we are consistent in our offerings. And that's one of the key aspects of coffee. Everybody wants that consistency. You want your morning cup of coffee to taste the same, even if there are slight variations in our supply chain. Very important to leverage technology. And just to play off of what Trinity was saying, that the industry really has evolved a lot in the past few years, especially the last 3 years, as we react and evolve through the pandemic, and leveraging technology to help with sustainability, providing that transparency all the way through the various touch points of our supply chain. One of the exciting developments that I've seen recently at various seminars, both online and in person, is blockchain technology, and having that public registry of all the different touch points that you can really leverage to share data in a secure and relevant and meaningful manner with your various stakeholders. That's really key. The stakeholders, whether they're your vendor partners, whether they're processors of the product, or whether they're the consumers and wanting to access that information, or have a quick way to look that up on the product, or maybe it's on the website, but being able to confirm and verify that has been really key. And I think there are some good platforms and some good technologies being developed in the industry, maybe not quite where we need it to be, but certainly evolving. And as Trinity said, very exciting time to be in this space right now.
Well, thanks, Terry. And connected seems to be the word, right? I mean, it's what Trinity mentioned in terms of collaborations, and what you mentioned in terms of the connections with the consumers and multiple stakeholders, Neil, you mentioned. I think the connected seems to be the kind of real word when we talk about connected factories, connected supply chains, and all these connections would definitely require a big play of technology. So, Neil, can you give your experience in this particular area? I mean, you are a CIO, and you exactly know how technology plays a role over here.
Absolutely. So this is near and dear to our heart, right? As the CIO, information technology, it's a key feature of the modern world, right? How things have evolved. Every business decision has technology at the hub of it. And is used by most businesses across the world. If I just look at just the developed nations, information systems are now an indispensable part of most people's lives. And in developing nations, information systems are a means of enabling communication and exchange where no such infrastructure existed before. So it's such a big responsibility as an IT leader, as a business leader for us. But unfortunately, sustainability and IT are at odds. That's the challenge we are facing. The server forms, the loads and loads of data, every internet search that's going on, the emails that are being sent, the text, the pictures, the social media, taking up tons of resources, and the growing use of technology is coming with an increasing environmental cost. And that's what the biggest problem is. The other big problem is the awareness is, if I can be very bold, say zero, that technology needs to play a much bigger role in all the consumption, that sustainability and IT are at odds. If we don't raise awareness about this, then we will continue to deplete the resources that are available to us, right? And honestly, I do believe that greenhouse gas emissions is unfortunately being caused by the technology at a much higher pace than it ever was. Technology in our office, the energy consumption that's happening, the devices that are generating heat, the servers, the additional energy that is required for the upbeat, it's just extremely challenging. So as a technology leader, I think we have to play a much bigger role. We have to say, as I mentioned before, we have to say no to technology debt. We have to say no to data debt, and really be the business leader versus the technology leader, be the business leader, and really push the envelope faster and across the industry. I do believe that we have the power as a technology leader to say no to all the legacy systems that consume much higher energy at the moment, right? If we don't go after it and drive those IT discoveries that are needed, drive those IT assessments that are needed, and challenge it and face those difficult challenges with our business, then we will continue to stay behind. We have to introduce the words called reusability. We have to introduce the words of relocation and co-location of the server side. We have to introduce a very strong words about how do we turn green IT, and if we don't label ourselves a green IT, then we will not be able to get there. Green data center best practices have to be established, right? And we have to turn every employee of ours as a consumer who is making the right choices. And if I just apply to the technology world, right? I would tell you, if people are not even thinking about just putting their computers to sleep and making sure that they're unplugging all of those, the hard wires that are in there. Just a small change like that. I was reading in Stanford said that we can actually drive 74% of energy reduction if we just simply make our employees aware of that. Turn your computers off when you're not using. I think these are the small, using smart power clips, using power strips, or using or sharing the printers, working remotely. You touched upon Santosh idea, right? These are, there's some big aspects of it, but I also believe that as IT leaders, we have to inspire, we have to engage, we have to help provide those encouragements and also celebrate every win. So it can't be just, where we come in as a stick. We have to come in with a reward program and give our employees sort of initiatives that they can come up with the initiatives and feel entitled that they are making a difference in the world, making a difference in our business, and then them on and create a healthy discipline, healthy competition between different departments, where, the departments that are making difference can be rewarded and can be given more opportunities to make an impact. And I think there is so much to do. So I don't like to limit myself as an IT leader. And it's important that we are all acting as a responsible business leader of these organizations and also business leader of the world.
Oh, very true. I mean, well, there are these big opportunities where tech can drive sustainability, but I think the IT, I was reading that the IT emissions is just about to cross the aviation emissions. With the quantum of data and the quantum of things which we are kind of looking at. And so, yes, I truly say that while we drive some of those innovations which we require towards the sustainable future, we need to be mindful of some of the things like what you said, legacy, the codes, legacy software, just more efficient, that we need to move them up. Then you were saying something. Would you like to continue with that?
Very insightful information. Thank you.
Venki, coming to you, scale, that's what it kind of really says about Walmart, right? I mean, without those technologies, that scaling would not have been possible. But the as Trinity mentioned, as you mentioned, the others as well, the future seems to be much more interesting. What was happening earlier is not sufficient for the future, right? So how do you see the technology kind of changing the sustainability landscape?
Yeah, like I said, there's a place for technology in just the optimization space it's what I am working on, where we just make things more efficient. But adding to that, there's also the important piece of actually the materials that they use, etc., the technology that goes into making those things sustainable. We use a lot of bamboo fiber now for packaging, corn oil, etc. But what I want to kind of highlight is every time we come up with a renewable resource, there's somewhere else we are paying for it. Like, the more we use corn oil for making our disposable spoons and forks and stuff, but there's a lot more material that's going in, and the land is being taken away for not for corn as food production, but corn as for sustainable initiatives. So there is these balances that we have to weigh in, say how much can we afford to spend in terms of sustainability versus the economic impact of what people want to do. Now, adding to that is also the fact that there has to be some motivation for companies to move forward. Like, for example, if you look at all the electric cars, the hybrid cars, there was an initiative from the government saying, we'll pay you $10,000 or whatever per year. Now, there's been talk about carbon offsets and carbon-free footprint reduction, etc. I think those initiatives are going to actually motivate people to invest in sustainability. And especially for smaller to medium companies where the bottom line is a very important factor. You just can't throw money at some initiative that people don't believe is contributing to the profit margins. I think that's where the challenges are going to be. It's like, how can we as a community and as an administration and a government all come together to say these are important things to do, and it has to be done across the board, not just at large companies.
Yeah, it's that collaborative effort from all those stakeholders which is going to kind of shape the way we move into the future, right? And thank you to you, Terry and Venki, to kind of showcase how the technology, while it can be good in terms of optimization, in terms of driving some of the sustainability agenda, but with a cautionary note that, as you said, the greening of that is also important.